Good. Thanks, Susan.
Good.
Good morning.
Oh, we got a group today. This is nice. Morgan. Okay. So do you guys have any questions immediately? I've got kind of a little quick rundown over lesson 3 that I can go through. Is anybody in a time crunch or no? Shake hands, Sophia, you're good? Okay. Morgan, okay. All right, so lesson 3. This lesson is in terms, I'm gonna do my share screen. Here we go. Okay, so this one is a little more typical in terms of grading. When I spoke early in earlier sessions about how there's usually a 4-point survey and then like a 10 to 12 point, or 12 to 18 point, like more of a design section. So this one is like that. So the site and regional challenges, confusingly, has the most slides. But that is only worth 4 points. So keep in mind when you're going through that you're getting your ideas down, you're kind of, if you getting some images or some graphs, maybe some news articles to illustrate the point, but don't spend all of your time getting this section together. It's really like information gathering, getting a good understanding of what challenges you face, where you're at, and then moving into the sector compass. So the sector compass, there's a SWOT analysis in each section. So just to review that, your sector compass deceptively looks like is only one slide, but it's a biggie. So there's lots of different aspects to it. I do encourage students, if you're getting too much information on, you can't cram it all in, you're welcome to split it across 2, sometimes even 3 slides. Usually 2 is enough. So you can split it across like biological factors, weather factors, social, whatever works for you. So just that, this goes back to a little bit more of the point system that you'll see through the rest of the course of the smaller survey, or the survey which is worth less in terms of points, but often has a lot of slides to fill out, and then the design section, which is like a few slides that have a lot to them, and then it's worth more points. So okay, there is a SWOT analysis in each as usual. Okay, so assignment 6 with the site and regional challenges, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So if you guys have any questions, raise your hand, drop them in the or drop them in the chat, or just wait, and we'll have plenty of time for questions afterwards. So there's four slides here. The first one is going to be problems and weaknesses. This is where you want to think really big. So holistically, like anything regional, anything in your community, the family dynamic in the household. Like I get a lot of young people that are designing their parents' site, and that can come with definitely some strengths, but also weaknesses that you want to be aware of, potential problems down the road. So this is a good place to kind of brain dump all of that. And then you're going to look at obstacles and costs. So what are the obstacles to removing those problems and weaknesses? Often it's financial. A lot of people do cite, finances or time. We're all working full-time jobs, or we have limited resources. You can also think about like if you're in an HOA, homeowners association, which of course, if you're in an HOA, you're going to know immediately what I'm talking about in terms of problems and weaknesses and obstacles to resolving those. So you can think about those sort of aspects, regulatory challenges. If you're in certain parts of the world, there might be some aspects there that you want to include. So why is it currently not being solved? And then what is that costing you to not have that resolved? Again, often that's money and time. It might also just be energy, like energy that you can't put towards something that you would really like to do, energy you can't put towards your family. So think of costs, not only financial, but also just that like time, energy, kind of mental health, if that's an aspect, ability to contribute to your community. Like there may be costs beyond just the financial ones. Okay, and again, through all of these, feel free to get graphic, fill up that space with, 2 or 3 or even 4 photos that clearly depict like what, kind of what that challenge is or what that particular aspect is. Cultural and socioeconomic challenges. These are often more regional or community. So if you have a lot of theft across your site, this is something that we see, especially with rural sites where there's a lot of trash blowing in, wandering cattle may be an issue. It can also be if you live in a more difficult neighborhood, any of those aspects that fall under that more like community aspect. This is a good place to detail it out. Even if you've mentioned it in the earlier slides, this is a good place to get some of those details down. Now here you're going to start seeing this text ADFASD. I'm going to note this to Javin, who is the main template manager. I believe it's just a template typo. So I'm going to make sure that this gets resolved because there should be some sort of text more detailing this more. Essentially, you just go with the same flow. Like, what are the region site strengths and opportunities? That might be some sort of like regional funding. Might also be funding that's specific to your site. Like I have a client right now who is they have 2 acres in it's a, what do they call it? It's a rural. It's not a rural agricultural preserve. It's like a rural native preserve type. So one of the pitfalls of that is that they're very limited in the agricultural activities they can pursue because it's more of a nature historic reserve. But they do have access to different types of funding. They have access to different types of support that they wouldn't have if they were just like typical rural zoning or typical like suburban residential zoning. So some of those things might be applicable. So when you see region and site strengths, it can, the scale of that might vary. It might be, it's probably not going to be statewide, but it's going to be more like, municipality or county, provincial, whatever works out to that. Okay, most likely natural disasters. A lot of people in my group, this is going to be wildfire and flooding. That's very, very common because I get a lot of folks on the West Coast, or drier parts of the West. Could also be landslide, could be earthquake. So just think of any of those. Try to capture some data that gives us an idea of what the, say, like 100, even the 1,000-year event, because this year we have seen some 1,000-year weather events. So really try to get an idea of what is like this is so unlikely, it's almost incomprehensible, but it's possible here. I mean, I know people in, that had to go through like hurricane, like Helene and Milton, were in areas where it wasn't even really conceivable that they would ever be dealing with hurricane weather, tornado. But if you know that there's, say, like a waterway or you're in a mountainous zone, just think about like what could happen if there was a landslide, or like what could you do to mitigate that? What sort of community pieces are in place? Anything that you can get in there. And then again, like related to that, you're going to be looking at your strategies for natural disaster resilience. So that's going to be community networks, any site and like local disaster response. This may go as far as statewide, but any responses that in the event of a natural disaster you could call upon. And this is often a spot where people really start to think about and realize the strength of their local communities, whether that's in like a telephone network. I know this has been issues in some of the mountainous communities that were hit really hard with snowfall in the last year in California. But what were the phone systems like? What were our local connections to neighbors? Do we know any of our neighbors? Are we friendly with them? Are we so anything like that could go in there. Things like go bags, what your personal household strategy might look like. That's a good place to put here. And then you're going to summarize basically what you've just gone through with the last few slides. You're going to summarize it into this slide, and then what are the specific solutions you have available or you're going to take to manage those specific problems, weaknesses, challenges, whatever you want to call them. There's some good examples here off to the right. I can't seem to slide over. There we go. So here's a nice example that's well built out. I'm not super keen on the pink and blue backdrop. If you are also, if you want to reformat it, feel free to do so. The bolding of text is really, really helpful in making it clear to your reader, to your client, to me, what the key points are there. But feel free to reformat this as you need to. Basically, to summarize, like what the key problems are and how you're going to solve those problems. All right. We got any questions? So that's assignment 6. Good. Okay.
I actually have a question, Susan.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Michael.
I mean, it seems like all of these challenges that we're supposed to outline here are related to like kind of larger view challenges, not like specific things related to like low water availability or poor soil. It's more kind of bigger scale sort of things.
Okay. So things that are very site specific, I mean, you could rank them down sort of in a scale wise, like from a kind of larger to smaller. Very site specific.
Could it be things like
that water availability is really a regional challenge. Like it's not just you that's dealing with a water issue, right?
Yeah.
Very like similar could be said for soil issues. Compacted soil, poor or non-existent organic matter is basically, I mean, it's a regional, it's a global problem in suburban sites, suburban, urban, really even almost the vast majority of sites that we see, those are problems that they're contending with, unless they're previous agricultural sites or they're like lowland deposition sites where they've got a lot of organic matter built up. Yeah. So you could really look at that as a regional challenge that is also specific to your site. Yeah, so I would possibly put that into your site challenges, the obstacles and costs. Definitely note it in the problems and weaknesses. And you could refer to that in the last two in the more regional slides, in the sense that as a region, this like poor soil cover, this lack of like vegetative cover, does lend itself to like regional landslides or like what water use issues are really a regional problem.
Right.
So yeah, does that help clarify? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like just one more quick point here, like other things like predation, like like this year we've had like massive amount of like caterpillars on our fruit trees, to the point where we've had like 50 plus on the new leaves of some trees in the spring.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I felt, I like pulled most of those off and just kind of fed them, let them go to the birds, sort of thing.
Sure.
I felt bad about that, but the tree probably would have died if. So is that like that sort of thing, that sort of factor a thing for this assignment?
Yeah, I would get that into probably your first slide, your 38, like because that's going to be related to your soil health. Like the fact that your soil health isn't supporting your fruit trees to have sufficient natural resistance, you're getting hit with bigger pest problems.
Okay.
So you can note that, and that'd be a great picture. What kind of worms are you getting, or do you know?
Well, these were like butterfly caterpillars, monarchs or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Do you know that other fruit growers are having issues?
I saw like just leaves disappearing on cherry and plum trees, but a neighboring apricot tree, which had the best leaves of all, was just totally untouched by them. It's kind of weird.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay. So that may be something that's specific to something going on in your soil. That's very specific, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know about other garden situations.
Okay. Might be worth asking like your extension agent, reaching out to them and seeing if there's because that seems very odd that that's only your site. But you could definitely include it in here as something that you're dealing with. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And then you're going to have a SWOT analysis, which is kind of it's another summary of what you've just gone through. Okay, sector compass. So this is a very busy slide, lots of aspects to it. Go through it carefully. One thing that I would say the greatest number of students miss is these distances to grocery store, distance to population center, nearby stores, hospital, public space. Do get these distances in. They are important. They're also worth points. So I think they're pretty easy to fill in fairly quickly. When you replace this with an image of your base map, you're going to want to use your colored line drawing. So don't use the satellite image. It just gets too busy. The black, you could use the grayscale if you feel like it's clear, but it's nice to see the colored line drawing under here. Now the example that they show does keep everything on this slide, which is nice. It does show how all of these things interact. However, if you are feeling like there is just too much, it's getting too cluttered, and you can't trim it out without losing meaningful information. What I offer to students is, if you want to split it into something like biological and climatic factors, so like your wind, fire, pollution could go into one, and then like water, summer sun, winter sun, wildlife, and visitors could go into another. If you want to find a way that works, that splits that apart, you could do that across 2 slides. Generally, I don't know if I've ever seen someone actually do it across 3 slides, but do what's going to convey that information the most clearly for you for your site. Of course, all these sites are different, so do what's going to work for it, work for your site and the amount of information that you have. The nice thing, if you can, about keeping it all on one slide is that you can see, for instance, how prevailing wind intersects with let's say like wildlife. So if there's birds or deer or something coming through, how that wind might also intersect with fire is going to be a really important one. These guys have a full circle, like all the way around, that they're threatened by fire. But if you have a prevailing wind direction and a likelihood of fire coming from that direction, those are good to have on the same slide. So the idea here is really to see the relationship between those elements, if you can, or as much to the degree that you can, and then show how they interact with your site. Sun angles, there's some good resources for grabbing. So Sun Earth tools. So when you're getting the sun angles, Sun Earth tools, solar data is another good one. There are some. There's a tutorial up here, how to calculate solar angles, and another one on the cross section, the solar angles cross section, how to build that. So yeah, go make sure to check out those tutorials when you're working on this. So it's a single slide. It does have a lot of information. Go through it pretty carefully. It'll require some thought about whether this is something you want to amplify, whether you're going to deflect it, reduce it, or if it's something that's useful that you can use in your site design. And then a SWOT analysis, and any questions for me, and that's your lesson 3. Okay, so now we've got time for questions. I'm going to stop my share. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any. Yeah, okay. All right, does that leave any questions for anyone? Make sure. I'll give you a minute to breathe and kind of go a little bit faster now. Have you all got accustomed to looking at, I've got somebody in the chat. Oh, hi, Morgan. Okay, not being antisocial, just not sure how to get your video going.
Yeah, it shows that it's, when I look in the settings, it seems to work fine, but for some reason it's not rendering on the...
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, should I log off and log back in? Is that?
I think if you want to, it's okay. I mean, if I highlight you, no, it doesn't. It's not like it brings your video up. So yeah, I'm not sure. It's up to you. If you want to go in and come back, we'll be here.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
But it's also okay if we know you're here.
Okay, I'll try that out.
Okay, sure. Yes, Kathleen, go ahead.
For sun, we went through like a fairly detailed way of gathering all our sun information. I didn't know if we had any resources to do the same with wind, or if we should just be a little more like generalized observational for that, or like research based. But
okay, so when you were doing your climate survey, you would have been getting like you got your wind graph, windrows and stuff. So that's going to be helpful in informing this, and that's about the amount of information that you can really fit into this as a really summarized point of view. So, okay, there you are. Good morning.
Hey there.
Hey. Okay.
I have a question on the just the concept of the sector compass.
Sure.
Is the reason that we have these kind of concentric circles for each of the factors here, each of the sectors, is that just because it comes from the name compass? It's like a circle? Because, and for example, like the fire risk category drawn as a circle may not be a circle in reality.
In terms of like that it may come from one direction?
Or it may be coming from like within the circle. So like, for example, like we have a massive tree in our neighbor's yard, which is like partially hanging over our house.
Okay.
It's really close to the house and is not at the boundary of the circle or outside of the circle. It's within it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, like cedar fences coming into the defining the property line would be a fire risk, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And those are well within the boundaries of the circle, I get that like everything else from outside would be coming from certain directions from like a long distance, but like certain things could be from a short distance.
Yeah. So another way I've seen, like another way that these get depicted is as wedges.
Okay.
So, in fact, when I did my sector compass for our site, that was how we could do it as wedges. So then you could change the external or internal, like the boundaries, so that you could show actually where that was initiated. So yeah, it's a very good question, and not depicted with these concentric circles. I will try to do some digging. I'll do some digging and see if I can find. The reason I'm pausing or I'm hesitating on this is because I don't, sometimes when you mix like you mix formats, you wind up with a mess. And I don't want you to wind up with a mess, and I don't want you to wind up with something that's intractable.
I mean, I also noticed that like on some of the examples on the slides, there's like lines with arrows indicating certain factors or sectors, like.
Yeah, like the wildlife is definitely like a pathway.
Right.
So
right.
you could do something like that, or the fire sector, even as like a line with a dot going in to show where that fire initiates. And I mean, this kind of goes back to like you're telling me a story about your site. You're telling me what's going on, or you're telling the reader or your client. So if under fire, you want to make a note here indicated by the dot, or like fire risk is like within the site. I mean, I do read these in detail. I don't just look to make, okay, yeah, it follows the form, check all the marks. Like I do read them. So if you've made a note where like this is actually the risk is an element that comes from within the site,
I mean, I guess it's likely just based on probability that a house fire would be outside the site because there's so many
Yes.
houses around,
Yeah.
and so that would fit the circle category or the
Yeah.
circle kind of depiction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like because of that big tree on our neighbors, if there was a house fire like 5 blocks away or something, and there was a strong wind in the direction of that tree, then it, the tree could catch fire.
That's what. Yeah.
It's still within the circle. It's still depicted with the circle kind of graphic, I guess.
Right. So if you walked out on a hot, windy day, and you were looking for where the risk would come from, and you see that cloud of smoke coming from that direction, you count that as a risk, knowing that that's going to intersect with a flammable tree, a fire, and maybe a prevailing wind in that.
Yeah.
So that might be.
It makes sense in that respect. The circle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, was that a question, Kathleen? Or yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
This is just relating to a detail from my last assignment, and just knowing I missed one of the slides on the last assignment. I'm wondering if that is something that you regrade, like in the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Or I just missed that by accident.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I'm out on that one. How you approach that?
Sure. When that happens, sorry, I hope I didn't cut you off. You're a little bit broken up.
You're good.
Okay. I did catch the missed slide regrading. When that happens, when I've graded it, and you went back and there was a slide missed. I'd have to pull yours up to see exactly. When you want me to regrade something, send me an email, get a response from me, or come to office hour. I'll make a note of it and go back and regrade it. And that's absolutely fine. There's no penalty on that. What I don't want students is going back and I tweaked these 12 slides and can you go back and regrade them? I'm like, please no. But if you missed a section or missed a slide, that's totally fine. I can go back and regrade that and update it. Not a problem. Okay, I see it. Okay, Sophia. Oh, you got poor network. Okay. In my climate, there is a distinct dry season for half of the year. How does this affect the fire circle diagram if it only applies to half of the year? There's only so much information you can depict in this format. If you want to get fancy and super detailed, you can do a summer winter or a spring summer fall winter. You can split it, or you can do a seasonal sector compass. But if you've got a significant fire risk that applies at a significant portion of the year, it's just apply it as a risk. So it's kind of it is a flattened version of a risk assessment. It doesn't really, I'm trying to see, fire. You can note it that it's through certain summer months or through certain months, but there's not really, with this format, keeping it simplified enough that it's accessible to the majority of our students. There's not really a way to depict that temporal aspect easily. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
No? Okay, all right. Okay. Morgan, how are you doing?
I have one more question.
Oh, sorry. Sophia?
Yeah, I just have one more question, but it's for a future assignment, so I can ask the question later also.
Okay, do we have any more questions for lesson 3-2? Okay. No, good. Okay, go away. Go ahead. Go away. That's what happens when I have my tea instead of coffee in the morning. All right. Okay, go away. All right, go ahead. Similar, different.
I saw there was a plant species matrix coming, and right now I'm working on designing plant consortiums for the syntropic agroforestry aspect. And so I think when I make a consortium, it's designing through time and space, with the strata. So should I replace it with a consortium table, what's in the slides, or
Hmm.
I don't know.
I would have to, could you share it with me so I can see it first in order to answer that? And you can just email me a link and why don't you email me a link and I'll take a look and get back to you.
Okay, I have an example of a consortium. It's
sure.
just
Okay. If you can share it. I'm going to put enable. There you go. You should be able to share it now. Now, Sophia, you're working in Costa Rica, correct?
in Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Sorry, pardon me. Yeah, because I recommended CloudBridge to you. Okay. Just for some context for whoever's not familiar.
This is like yeah.
So are you referring to lesson 8? Yeah.
I think it's a little, I checked, I think it's a little bit further, but it might come up in other slides. It was lesson is it lesson 17? It's just something that I'm working with right now because I haven't finished my base map. And I've kind of been jumping between designing the consortium and then also planning like infrastructure, and so it's sort of
Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. So lesson 17, plant system design, plant species matrix. Okay. Now, can you share that consortium? Oh, I see. That's what that is. Okay. So let me open it. What's it going to do with it? I think it just downloaded it. Oh, no. That's what I want. There you go. Okay, so this, okay, I'm going to do a little share so that you guys can, the rest of you can see. Okay, if I open this up, can you guys see the example consortium design? Yes, no? Yeah, okay, so the table. So that, no, that's not going to cover, it's a good start. It's not going to cover the level of detail that we're looking for in the actual plant species matrix. Like, so I'm going to close this out, do another share. So this, you've got your species, which is great. Excellent. Excellent start. Okay. But what we're actually going to be looking for in that section is going to be a new share. Sharing your screen. There's a lot of buttons to press. Okay. I'm going to share yours. Okay, so we're going to be looking for all of this detail, like what the USDA hardiness zone is, what type of plant it is, family, Latin and common name. So there you've just got the common names. We're looking for mature size, like height and width, what the rooting depth is, what the root pattern is, whether or not it's a nitrogen fixer, and then different uses and functions of it. And what its light and water needs with some pictures. So there's a lot more detail than what you've got described here. However, you've got your species chosen out here. So you're already, you're a few steps ahead in being able to, like, now you're just plugging those species in and describing them. So where you've got your strata, emergent, high, medium, low, you're going to put into this the column on the side here. So there's a canopy, subcanopy. Okay, this example.
okay.
Yeah, annual herbs, vines, shrubs, all of that level of detail.
Should I add more labels on the side?
Yeah, so you could copy this slide and expand it out with like your vine layer, your herbs. Now, did you? Okay, so I'm looking at your presentation right now. Have you filled this out, or is this is the example, isn't it?
Oh,
The
this,
friend
yeah,
food.
it's the example.
This is the example, friend food forest. Okay, they added some detail into the template, and I keep finding things that I'm like, that are just like actually greatly improved, which is great. Okay, yeah, so just add, like, copy, you know, this slide, or whichever one applies, the plant species matrix or the native shrub and pollinator garden, whichever one is going to apply for you. And then you can, you know, increase the number of layers that you've got represented there.
Yeah, I guess I feel a bit, I'm thinking about this coming up because in the system I want to create, it's like so intensive, like so things are placed like 2 meters apart, and it's so many species. And so I was looking at this list, and they have like five species here,
Yeah.
and so I'm not sure how I will include everything.
You don't need to. So you don't, if you want to have just one canopy tree, is that what you mean? Like, you can have one tree in your canopy, like one species of tree in your canopy, one in the sub canopy, you know, or one or two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you do not have to have like 3 or 5 in each layer. Like this I would say is, you know, probably for a site that's going to be at least a few acres to accommodate those. Like, I mean, these are, well, this is feet height, width. So 7 foot canopy is actually very small. Yeah, so this is more, yeah, 10 foot. So in order to accommodate that many canopy trees, plus the sub canopy trees, plus a shrub layer, plus, that's a lot of space. So you can have like 1 or 2 canopy trees, 1 or 2 sub canopy, you know, 1 or 2 shrubby, like is that clearer? So then it kind of corresponds to the species that you've already chosen here.
Sort of giving an example from like each.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, oh, I see. No, let me see this again. Right, okay, so you've got it across time.
Yeah, and it's just, I'm just thinking it's going to be so intensively stacked.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So I would start with your placenta 1, like start with your phase 1, and just describe that. And then, you know, you could incorporate the others as you go through. Or, I mean, if you wanted to choose your climax, I would really start with at least the first one, and go with that. But let's kind of play this out. You know, you can like email me some examples and stuff, and we can kind of go back and forth on it through the office hours. As we get closer to that section, it might get clearer for you.
Okay.
Yeah, because you definitely don't need like the whole assignment like stacked basically in 4 phases. Super helpful if you're doing like a $15,000 like planning project. You're not there. Like we don't need that level of detail. But showing us that you can do the phase 1 is like, okay, so you could come out of this course with the skills to implement that entire like multi-phase approach, but just show us that you can do like phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Don't get overwhelmed too early on. So, yeah. Before you need to. You don't need to. Nobody should ever get overwhelmed. Okay. Stop sharing. Any other questions?
I'm just here to give you an update. I am overwhelmed.
Oh, Morgan, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay.
No, my goal is to just knock out assignments 1 and 2, hopefully by the next deadline, and then I'll try to do 3 and 4 the following. I just need to start playing catch up now.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
You
mean assignments or lessons?
Yes.
Like this okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We got you. And there's a break coming. I mean, we call it a break. It's over the holidays. Who gets a break over the holidays when you have children? I don't know, but
that was my dilemma. So last year when I took this class and bombed out, I was like, oh, okay, holidays, that sounds good. I'll do that and catch up. And the reality is just kids, nah, forget it.
Yeah, no. That's why I try. Yeah, I have to be really careful about like, oh, you know what? If I can't get my marking done on Monday, I can probably get it done Tuesday. And then suddenly it's Thursday and I'm getting emails like, have you graded? Did the link work? And I'm like, yeah, the link worked. My life didn't this week, but the link worked. So I try to make it.
Yeah. Really so I'm gonna try to get caught up by Thanksgiving because I know it's gonna be harder to catch up once we get into the holidays. So
it snowballs. Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. 70, 80% done is good. Ship it. Get it done, ship it. You can always work on it later or improve it later. So, yeah. Okay.
I have one more question.
Sure.
And it makes me think of this because I'm behind with the base maps, and so I've gone and started working on like this week's assignment, but now I have to do the base map in order to make more progress. So today I'm going to my site, and I was just going to use like a mapping tool like Gaia GPS and sort of get like a rough estimate of the contour. And I just wanted to ask if you have any input, anything else that would be good that I am taking notes on and looking for. And I sort of made a list of things before, but I just, if you have any questions.
Yeah. How big is your site again? I'm trying to find.
Well, there's a 36-acre parcel, and I have to choose. I can choose like 8 acres in this parcel based on there's a natural water pool, so I think I want to include that. And then also I was gonna put my house on a flat site, and so I'm figuring out if they put Monsanto there because there was some rice growing. So these things are things like this I have to decide.
Okay. I guess an easy way, I mean, get a clipboard, print out the legend and note, you just read through it and then note any of those things that you're going to want to look for. So the legend on slide 38 in your presentation. So note any of those things if they're present. I don't know if you like, if there's no infrastructure on it, then maybe none of those are going to be relevant.
There's a house that is made out of like wood and like a metal sheet.
Okay. Yeah. So get like corners. So use Gaia GPS to get to the latitude and longitude on the corners and elevation. Definitely get like minimum, like if you're going up a trail, get the base of the trail and then start it tracking so that it can follow where you walk. Yeah, any of your water infrastructure. What I would do is start it, if you've got a little pond there, a water feature, start at 0 and walk around it. And you'll get you'll get like the elevation of that water feature. And then you'll be able to get that into Google Earth and track this and change it into a polygon or draw a polygon around your track and get the size of that, like the surface area.
Okay. I usually go on a horse and makes it I think I can still do it.
Okay.
Sometimes
the error is going to be about the size of a horse, the height of a horse. So, yeah. Okay.
This is more like the horse. If it starts running, to like go in front of the other horse, then I'm like like with my phone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Get off maybe. Just get as much as you can. Just get as much as you can and mark it off on like the whole base map, and then we can help you select a site for your actual like location. So.
Okay.
Interesting. Lucky you. I get to ride around my site on a horse in Nicaragua. your life. Okay. Yeah, definitely get your base map done before you start moving ahead in the rest, because that'll help for sure. Okay. I wish I could call in questions from the replay, but I cannot. I think I mean, I don't see a lot of recurring problems with the site and regional challenges and the sector compass that I haven't already gone through. So just go ahead. Have you guys started on it? Okay. Cool. Yeah, Sophia's saying no. Morgan, probably not. Okay. That's fine. All right. Well, if we are done with questions, jokes for the day, or should I sign off and you can go work on your homework? Because I've got an hour before I have to go home. So, okay. All right. Well, thanks all of you for showing up. And as ever, feel free to message me with questions. There's the WhatsApp app. I've got a few folks on there. I find it really helpful for answering questions really quickly. So,
oh, yeah, I had a question on that. So how do we actually join that group?
Oh,
the WhatsApp group.
You should be able to follow the link from I'm going to go back to the office hour discussion. Did you try and it wasn't successful?
I'll try again.
Okay, if you're having any problems, here, I'm going to drop this into the chat. The links to an external site there. Okay, so the link is in the chat. But yeah, when you join, just make a little instruction. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can put WhatsApp on your desktop too, if you don't.
Oh, okay.
You want to have it on both your phone and your desktop, but yeah, either way. And you can upload photos or links or whatever. So, oh, Sophia, one more small question. All right. So if anybody else needs to jump, feel free. But yeah, I'm happy to take another question. Go for it.
It's related to the last question. So I'm going right now to the site, and it has just rained a lot. And if you have any input or advice for things I should look for here as well, I would love to hear.
Yeah, look for anywhere there's erosion. So where you're seeing erosion, where you're seeing surface flow. So water going over stuff that it wouldn't normally. Anywhere that it's pooling, you might see. Let me see. It's the end of the year, so you're probably not going to see a lot of like amphibian populations out, but you might see something. If you see any like wildlife that you don't normally see, it's also a good time to go out at night, because a lot of the amphibians there you'll see at night. So go out with a headlamp, flashlight. Yeah, that's the main things that I'd be looking for. So just any changes in water patterns, but yeah, get the base map down first. But yeah, any like unusual flows that you can mark out, muddy areas on the trail that you might need to like reinforce or something are helpful. But a lot of times we can tell that we can predict that pretty well with topography, with the exception where you've got heavy forest cover. So. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, don't let your horse slip. Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a great week, and I will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.